I'm ready to get started. Thank you for joining, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the Rendair profile. Once you've signed in, this is the interface that you'll see. There are now 5 modules. Community is one of the latest ones. It used to be Learn, but this is one of the more interesting modules that we've just launched in the last few weeks. We're going to take a look at this today. Create, edit, upscale, and video have been there for a little while. Video is fairly new as well, so we'll take a little bit of time to take a look at that as well. Other updates to the system in the last few months have been the addition of folders over here, so we can create folders. You also have the ability here in Elevation, Sketch, 3D Base, and Image to Render to create custom styles. So here you can choose from pre-existing styles, or you can open here and say, right, and then add any number of images that match your title or your description. This is mostly for you. And then you can have a collection of different styles. Once you apply those styles, like this here, black and white custom craftsman home, I can apply an elevation of choice like this. And in a few seconds, it'll pull from anything that's here to influence here. Image strength high because I want to keep all the details, or give it a little bit of flexibility. I'll add a prompt, and then I'll give it a location. The creativity bar only affects this description of the scene, right? This text area. So the same thing applies, that logic applies for text to render, elevation, sketch, 3D base, image to render. All of these tools have, call it like a formula, right? Text to render doesn't use any design input, only text. So when we use this, you can go as extensive as you'd like with the description of the scene, as many words as possible, doesn't matter. Elevation, because we're adding a design, you don't want to add too much of a prompt. Otherwise, you're going to provide many opportunities for the AI and the design to sort of clash. A lot of the times, as I'm looking through different prompts and different styles of prompting, I'm seeing that if it gets too extensive, there's too many filler words, too many words that don't feed the actual description of the home. And if any time there's duplicity, it becomes less powerful for the AI, less for them to process and to create, right? So custom craftsman home, Telluride, Colorado, this would be a good time to add white, right? Now, if I want to see a different roof from what's here, I might reduce the image strength. Here I asked for an aluminum roof. So a clean aluminum roof will look different from this. Maybe I'll reduce the image strength so that and increase creativity to give it more room to produce change. Now, we just took a look at the custom styles. So this will produce a couple of renderings here in a couple seconds. Here is, I'll click copy inputs, by the way, for any of these that you want to see your previous work. You can click copy inputs. Here it is again. Image style has been applied, custom craftsman. If I wanted to go an extra layer, meaning I wanted additional influence here, I can also add a reference image, right? Which is what I would normally add without the style. But if I have a style applied and I want to add an additional layer of reinforcement, or maybe I want to add a different, maybe make it look a little bit more modern, right? Now it's going to combine this style with this modern, right? So here I'll put reference strength really low. It's quite strong, quite heavy. And so now where previous to the style, there were 3 areas to attenuate your renders, right? Your design input that you're adding, with the image strength low to veer away from the design, or image strength high to keep to the accuracy. Second part being the description of the scene, the text, for which there's keywords here that you can add, highly influential. Creativity bar that attenuates the text, part 2. And then part 3, the reference image. Now there's a 4th, being the style, which can be applied in the beginning, right? Which will then produce even more reinforced images. So text to render is the simplest, uses only text. Elevation, flat 2D, right? And we've got 4 different areas now to attenuate the style of the final image, right? Sketch can do simple, can do complex, can be hand-drawn or made on the computer. It's very flexible. So sketch to render, but elevation, sketch, and 3D base, they don't process color. So you'll notice, right, when we click on these, there's one style strength and there's one image strength here, bar. The style strength is if you have a style applied. So if I'm just in realistic, which is default, the style strength disappears because this is just default. Any of the others, you'll have a strength bar here. Now for this one, image strength, high, says follow all of my lines in the design. If I click here, image to render, the next tool, you'll notice an additional bar appears. Color strength, high, means keep to all my colors in the base image that I've provided. In this case, if I'm putting a black and white image and my color strength is high, my result is going to be black and white. So if I'm working with an image like this, I might want to reduce color strength to 0, or logically, because there's no colors in here, I would take it to another tool, like 3D base or elevation to render. 3D base might produce more depth. Elevation to render might keep it more flat for you. In image to render, and also with all of these, right, the entire image changes. Every pixel in the image changes in create, anytime we're in create. In image to render, the building, facade, structure, design will have a slight change as we approach realism, right? Again, every pixel changes. In magic variation, the building facade doesn't change as much as the tonality and the look and feel of the image. Colors, shades, lighting, right? So image to render achieves realism better, faster. Magic variation, but it comes at the cost of some of the design. Magic variation will change less, but it's harder to get to realism. And I'll show you guys that in just a minute. So that's create, top to bottom. Anything we make here is going to change every pixel in the image. Here is the additionally reinforced render. I see that it's processing a little bit like it's in an interior space. So if I go to copy inputs here, I might say exterior photo of, and here I might also add beautiful, right? Activity, let's drop it down a little bit. And with a pro account, you can create multiple generations at a time to see different variations. So we'll take a look at some of these. So here's the new custom craftsman home, Telluride, Colorado. We've got the backgrounds. If I noted fall colors, I chose Telluride very particularly. Colors will change a lot. So if I go here and I have Telluride, Colorado fall colors, generate that. Let's see what that does now. First, I'm going to show one thing, image to render. Here, by the way, you can filter by your previously made generations. Perfect. All right. So here's the base input image, right? The focus here is a roadway leading up to the condo in the back, luxury condo. When I ran it through and I kept color strength and shape strength at 100%, it produced something almost exactly the same as the base image. And it should, because I kept the meters were very high, right? So I'll click here, copy inputs. You can see here 100 and 100, right? Description of the scene, beautiful afternoon, sunny roadway. Creativity low. I was just seeing what it'll do with the colors, right? The next one, I've now dropped it 19%, or about 20. And we start to veer away from the original colors towards realism. And you might notice the building in the back has changed, right? And that's okay. For now, I'm just playing with the colors. So I go further away from the 100%. Now I've got 60%. On this one, let's see. Copy inputs. This is 40% color strength, right? And now you can see the colors are really looking a lot more realistic in the trees, everything. This is a little messy here in the road. We can clean that up. And the building in the back has changed, right? So how do we fix this? I like the color orientation and the look and the feel. Looks more realistic than before, significantly. But I need to bring the building back. So what we do is we've added this button here, Quick Fix. Allows you to crop out this little area of the original photo or render and say luxury condo in background or in distance to let it know that it's far in the distance. Color strength, we might increase a little bit to keep to these colors. Shape strength is the important one because we want it to stay to this shape so that it looks like that building, right? So here, generate, and this will take a second to generate, but I've already done it earlier, so I'll show you what that looks like. So here, you can see where I've brought back the other image, and now I've got my condo back in the background, right? So I took the original image, which was very computer gamey looking with bright colors, and took it here, and then brought back the building, and it looks a lot more realistic now, right? And cleaned up the bushes, the little the greenery that appeared in the middle of the street here, right? But it looks good. So this is the cost of approaching realism with the colors, is that there will be changes to your render, but with this quick fix tool, you can veer as far away as you want, and then later on bring back the building, knowing that that's where you had it in the original image, right? Okay, so that's image to render. Magic Variation, you'll notice, has a lot more styles. And as you apply these styles, you'll notice that what it does is add text here to the description of the scene. I've done a lot of different experiments here. I've noticed that you can also significantly reduce this. So you can just pull a few of these words. Particularly long exposure techniques is really good. City lights, nighttime, night photography, right? Something like this will produce a very interesting output for this. So definitely take a look at Magic Variation. If you have it at 100% and image strength high, it'll keep to your image. If you have, the moment you start veering away here on image strength, you might as well also just be an image to render, right? So before I move on to this next area, which is edit, where we can make changes to particular areas of the image, I'm going to point out in community, which used to be learn, you can come here and take a look at community creations. These are going to be renders that anybody might be actively working on the platform. Once they've uploaded it, this is something that you can do here. Doesn't happen to all the renders, but let's say I wanted to upload one of these and say, hey, look how cool this is, how this came out. I'm going to go ahead and share this with the community. And so now when I go here to community, I've got that render here, right? And you can see the settings that I used and the tool. So here I can go like this. Here we changed concrete floor to wood floors. And I see that maintain shapes was toggled off. And I can also see that there's a little bit of extra masking here. So this is a good opportunity for this kind of a thing. You might want to remove this and remove objects first before taking to the rest of it. This might have been like a magic wand initial impression, but the cleaner we get, anything that's masked orange, you're giving permission for the AI to change. So the cleaner we get these, the better, right? The better the output is going to be. Instead of having this sort of little strange thing appear here, this can be completely removed and cleaned if we take a moment to take this to remove objects beforehand. But this is what the community creations is all about. We're taking a look at what other people are doing, how they're achieving these results, clicking into it. We can see the prompt. We can study the creativity level, the image strength. Okay, cool. And for the next one, I might test those settings, right? If I'm using that kind of a case study. Let's take a look then and go to edit. All right, in this next module, edit, we can now make changes to the renders little by little. Select and modify is what we use to select an area and have the AI process and interpret, right? With some text, we add people walking with dog, and the AI will magically make them appear, which is super powerful and very fast if you don't really have too much importance on the exact position and orientation of the people that are going to be walking the dog. If you need to place those people in a particular place, or you need whatever you're adding to be very, very specific, the other tools are insert and modify, where you can add a screenshot of a 3D model into a base image, or sketching context, where you can live sketch into an image. This is probably the one that produces the best results, but it's a case study specific, very specific situation. If you're changing only one thing at a time in the image, sketching context. If you're changing multiple things at a time in the image, maybe select and modify might do better. If you're adding something with a very specific design, insert and modify is your best friend. And then remove objects is the inverse, right? That's just taking a really busy image and cleaning it up and removing everything in the room. So first, let's take a look at select and modify. I'm going to pull up some previously made select and modify generation. So here I am adding this building here on the left in this space. And I can go here, copy inputs. And you'll see that with select and modify, all I did was mask a very large area, a cube or square. To do that, you click edit. When you have your image here, I can redo it here. Clear all will clear everything that you've done. Magic wand will highlight an area. So this would be really good if I wanted to highlight this entire sidewall, or if I wanted to highlight the floor or something different. Brush will allow me to make very specific little splotches. So if there's things I want to change in the image, it can be pretty much anything, but keep in mind, and I'm doing this on purpose here, I've highlighted a piece of the ground, a piece of the sky, and another piece of the sky here, where sure, there could be changes, this could be improved, but because the 3 areas or 4 areas that I've highlighted are totally different, when I type in the text what I want to see different, so let's say clean this up, or clean sky, or clean the floor, no cracks on the floor. If I have that in the text, it's going to apply to every area that I have shaded. So we want to do little by little, area by area. If I'm going to make changes to the sky, I can do this and only focus on these changes to the sky. But if I'm going to change this much, I might as well just magic wand, clear. The next tool is the lasso tool. This is probably my favorite tool. This one allows me to just go, okay, well, I'm going to put a building right here. Now, if I want these shapes to stay here, I can toggle maintain shapes and click shape strength high. If I do color strength here, it means keep to the colors that are here in the background, and I don't really want to do that for my new building, so I'll keep this low. And in all reality, I'll keep this low as well for now. Beautiful modern, let's say custom home, creativity, low, reference strength. So this is why this came out, this image here came out looking like that, because it had this applied, right, in the reference strength. And you'll see I had it at 41%. So we'll do one with this at 2% to see what that looks like, another one without it, and another one with higher creativity, right, just to test. Then I'll do maintain shapes, increase shape strength, we'll test that as well, and we'll see the different outputs that we get for this very strange design that I've added here. This being select and modify, right? The other tool here that we can use is insert and modify. With insert and modify, I would want to have a predetermined shape or design that I'm adding into the image. So here, I can go here, grab one of these. Okay, let's say I'm adding this, right? It's a Art Deco ice cream shop. So I'm going to put my Art Deco ice cream shop. I can size it once I put it into the image. And I've decided I want it to cover sort of this portion of the building for sure. Place it in right here. If I have it here, and this is the button that you use to remove the background, if I place it there, it's going to cover those bushes. So if I want those bushes to stay, I'd probably add them afterwards, if anything. But ultimately, where we place this design is going to replace anything that's here. So I'd also want to be mindful of that and maybe drop this down a little bit. Pull this up. Let's size it bigger. All right, I'm going to put it right there. This is going to cover this little bit right here, but that's okay. Let's see. Okay. So now that that's in, I'm going to click Done. Once it's here, you'll see it's uploaded into the image. If I click color strength high, it's going to keep to these colors. So if I want some of those colors in there, maybe I'll toggle this to 30 just to test. Shape strength high because I want all the design to stay. Let's say beautiful modern custom home just to start, and we'll go here, creativity low. Generate, we'll do also modern ice cream shop. Art Deco. And I can also go here, beautiful ice cream shop, Frank Lloyd Wright style, right? Color strength lower. And let's try one at 0. Creativity lower. All right, we'll see what these start generating. Now that shape that I gave it earlier, it didn't like it all that much, the AI, on select and modify, right? Now I'm looking over here. It's a hard shape to work with. I did it on purpose, right? But out of the few that it did pull out, this one's pretty interesting. Working with the limited space, it was able to produce that. And it did clean up the image and make it look a lot nicer. So that's pretty cool. This one's also pretty close. All things considered, really nice. And the reason why I usually do multiple generations is because the AI will produce results like this, right? Where we don't really have much of a structure, it only changed the building and put a new wall. So sometimes it's good to generate multiple results to take a look and review how the AI responded to your prompting, right? And if it's doing something like this for all of them, then my suggestion is to increase the masking size if it's the case that you're using this select and modify tool, right? So now let's take a look at insert and modify. We've got our beautiful Art Deco ice cream shop, modern custom home. Those produce really nice interiors. Exterior is a little bit bland, but very nice interiors. If I increase the color strength for these, as I'm looking at this, let's test this out. Decrease this. So this would be adding this building here into the space. We can also obviously make it smaller and try again and again and again to get different variations. I think with a reference image, it'll start looking really nice. Also, the design is a little bit complex, obviously. This, for those that don't know, is an actual Frank Lloyd Wright elevation design, so it's got quite a bit going on. But if we used a much simpler one, output would come out very interesting as well, pretty good. Now, if I wanted to keep showing this, the flowers, hanging flowers on the side, I'd probably reduce that. But for all intents and purposes, here's with the increased color, bringing the color back. Came out pretty nice. For 15 seconds, not the worst. All right, so we looked at insert and modify, select and modify. Let's take a look really quick at remove objects. So let's say back here at the base image, I could use this to start removing things here in the sky, right? This looks a little bit strange. This. I can also use it to remove things here in the ground if I want to clean this up. So anything that looks like kind of messy that you don't like in the image, you can always use this to start. Can also clean up all this little road signs. And even this guy here. Right. I'm just doing this as an example. And it usually, a lot of the time, it really does help a lot to remove things from the renders to create a really nice final output. So here I'm just doing this, generate to show how that'll do. And then sometimes masking it very small like this will not produce the best result. So let's say if you've got a lot of room for freedom, you can always go kind of like something like this. Right? If there's quite a bit of the render that you want to change, that's totally fine. Increasing the masking size has a tendency to help, if anything, right? Depending on what the exercise is. So the last tool here is Sketch in Context. This one is, I think, the hardest tool to use in the entire platform, but it produces some of the best results. I'll go right here, Sketch in Context. Okay. So in this case, I will click Copy Inputs, and you'll notice I sketched this super awesome building here and was able to quickly produce a few variations of it. This one, I think I kept the shape strength really high, 76%. And in this one, 36%. So this one had more freedom. This one had less freedom. And you can tell because if I go here to copy inputs, the area that I highlighted here, there's a little archway here, a stronger block here, right? So it kept to that really well. I've got my archway here. In the next one, archway's gone. The stronger block is pretty much still present, but this now has been changed, and it looks really good. So that's Sketch in Context. It's also how I was able to produce these super nice hanging plants, the flower vines here. So if you're ever going to need, and this is obviously, you could see how amazing my sketching skills are. Super powerful tool for embellishing your renderings, right? So Sketch in Context, don't overlook it. It is scary. Take some time, play with it. You're going to find amazing results. You will also find strange results, so don't be surprised. But that's what the training sessions are for, right? We can help you get from here to here to here. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the chat and see if we have any questions. Is there any way to add furniture to an existing picture? Yes, of course. So let's take a look at that real quick. Usually we can go select and modify or insert and modify. Let's say this is the picture ultimately that we want to work with. Oh, and look, this is the remove objects, right? All those things that were on the ground, the sign, everything's gone. Looks much better now. Let's say we take this and select and modify. I can now grab this area here. And this is, because of the perspective, I have to allow also for like maybe some height here. That's fine. And let's see. Anything in this orange square is going to change, right? This is the tool that I'm using is select and modify. I'll remove maintain shapes, and here I'll put, this is just for sake of example, beautiful outdoor dining furniture, right? Creativity low, generate. Creativity high, generate. Maintain shapes, shape strength, generate, right? Just to test. If I want to see a particular furniture, I can go here and say outdoor dining furniture restoration hardware images, and I can grab, let's say, this very particular furniture thing. I'll go like this, and I want to make sure I don't grab that little camera sign, right? Maybe I blow the image up, but for now I'll just take a portion of it, and I'll add this here as a reference. Now that I've got my reference in, I'll start with this low, somewhere around 25, reference strength 2, reference strength higher, And then we'll do this higher and test this out. So we should get some outputs here that resemble this table and these chairs, but I'll keep in mind, I've got a view of like the distance here. This might not be the best image to use. So keep that in mind when using a reference image that's got other stuff going on. It might be better to have a simpler reference image. But just for select and modify, insert and modify would be the other way to go about this. I can try to put this in, right, directly, right here, and then I can remove the border, right? And then sometimes this will happen where part of it will disappear. So depending on the quality of the base image that we're adding or the screenshot, and how they modeled it or how they put their image together, some of this might blur out, it might not. We'll test it though. We'll click done. Creativity low, shape strength high, generate here, right? Now here we've got some beautiful outdoor dining furniture popping up. But again, with select and modify, so we can add the furniture, but it's up to the AI, the orientation, the position. This next one, maintain shapes on, shape strength 53. I've got the reference and creativity at 25, right? So let's take a look at insert and modify, see how these are coming out. So using insert and modify, I place the table into the image, right? And I've got these two different variations. It did make some slight changes, right? So once we place it in there, you'll notice a slight change from the original to the new one. If it's the case that this came out perfect the first time and it wasn't kind of invisible, and I wanted it to stay exactly the same, I could also click here, Control, and save image, and it'll just save it without processing it. So that's kind of a trick for artwork or for sculptures, for artists. That's particularly important. So that's select and modify, insert and modify. The last one being sketching context, right? And with sketching context now, I can either, again, grab the lasso tool and get like, but this would be, instead of like a square like this, you would want to put like, okay, we've got a table here. Very crude table. And some chairs, right? You'd want to sketch out like the whole thing and then describe it after you've sketched it. Beautiful outdoor dining furniture. And sketching context will do what it did here with the plant vines, but with the table, right? You can also add the reference image. So if I had this here, and I added here the reference image, this will start playing into the results, right? And I'll start low and increase this over time. Reference strength is very heavy, so be mindful of that. I'm going to move on to upscale and video, the last two modules. Upscale is super simple. An image that's a little bit blurry or smaller than we want it to be, we can clean it up and make it more crisp. This also helps with, sometimes I'll use a base image that's a little bit blurry, and I'll want it to be a little bit clean before I take it to the AI. So sometimes I'll upscale an image, even in its original stage, before I take it to get it rendered, right? Won't change any of the colors, but it should clean up some of these lines, particularly when Magic Wand isn't catching. I've tested this a few times and it's quite helpful, right? But otherwise, you've got a pre-upscaled image and post-upscale, right? Makes a huge difference, especially if you've got a really, really pretty image with distant views. Pre-upscale, post-upscale, pre-upscale, post-upscale. Pretty good. All right, so upscale, I use that quite a bit. It does make the image size or the file size much larger, so be mindful of that as well. Fix people, we'll fix humans that look slightly like creatures. You may have noticed AI has a tendency to create those. So with this tool, we can bring them back to human, which is very effective. Video, in just about 15 seconds, we can take any of the renders that we've made, right? So I can choose a file here. And obviously the quality of your base image is going to reflect on the quality of your output image. Here, this is kind of a Google Earth Street View image, but I'm going to make a really quick little, we'll do this, cinematic drone, generate. You'll notice the video tools do have credits. So I've got here 25 credits per click. And up here at the top right, I've got close to 1 million credits on my account. So what I let my clients know, if you ever need any additional credits, you can click on that button and replenish here for 375 credits. But if you just want to test the tools and see what these presets do, or see what the limits are of the video tools on those pro training sessions, we can take the entire hour and just do tests and see what the tools will do, right? So this is in 15 seconds. We now have like a zooming in little animation of this scene, which is entirely wild considering, yeah, it's Google Earth. So let's take a look at some others that I've made really quick, because it's super fun. Yeah, you can lose a lot of time there, but it's just super fun. Here's another render. So this particular prompt pulls the camera angle downwards towards the garage. This one zooms it in through the house, and this one pans left, right? And these are things that we can go over on the training sessions. I can also, this time, for this one, I asked specifically motion in the waves, and it gave me this kind of like time-lapse effect. And this one, it gave me a much softer motion in the waves effect with motion here in the boardwalk. And in this one, I got like sort of a zoom in view, right? So there's a number of different things we can do. And on my end, this is much smoother. I know we're over a Google Meet right now, so it might look a little choppy. Here's an example of fire. Here we can show daytime to nighttime by adding 2 different images, one in the daytime format, one in the nighttime format. There are ways to get results that look like this, but generally you can get stuff that looks really cool. So that's it, top to bottom. That's the Rendair 2025 platform. We've got a few more updates coming soon. Definitely keep an eye out for the next webinar presentation. See you soon, guys. Thanks so much.